Welcome to Boardroom Broadcasts, speaking with listed companies from around the world. You can stay up to date with all our content by visiting www.boardroombroadcasts.com and clicking on subscribe.
Today's guest is Greg Albert, Managing Director and CEO of Bisalloy Steel Group. Greg has been at the helm of Bisalloy Steel since January 2016. His professional qualifications include mechanical engineering, international marketing, and he has an MBA in new technology. He's held senior management roles around the world, principally in Asia, Europe and the USA, with industrial market leaders Metso and Sandvik. During his time as Sandvik Global Markets President, he overlooked the acquisition and integration of businesses across 23 countries while sitting on the executive. Greg, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Bisalloy Steel is unique in steel manufacturing as the only Australian company offering wear, structural and armour steel. Could you provide an explanation of these steel types?
Sure. You're correct. Bisalloy is the only company currently manufacturing wear-grade, structural-grade and armour-grade steels in Australia. We only manufacture what's called plate steel, so we don't manufacture any shapes, bars, rods or pipes, anything like that. It's just plates for somebody else to manufacture them. The wear grade are for customers that are looking for a performance advantage over mild steel, anywhere where, let's say, for example, an ore is touching a steel, so that doesn't wear out as quick as mild steel, and that gives them an advantage in the longevity of the plant and the frequency rate of replacement. So wear is generally used mainly in Australia in the resource mining and quarrying markets. Structural is more for companies that are looking for innovative designs where they need stronger, lighter steel. So, for example, truck body chassis, it could be truck bodies, it could be a new stadium roof for a sporting facility, it could be a new supports for a very high-rise building, innovative solutions in bridges and so on. So with the structural steel, it's for companies that are designers looking to make innovative designs. We call it lighter structures. And then for armour grade, it's really for the defence forces in the Australian market. So it's for ballistic grade steel, so to stop bullets. It's for blast proof, to stop bombs in the bottom of vehicles and those sort of armoured carriers. And also, of course, we do specialty steels such as submarine steels. We did for the Collins class submarine. So they're sort of the three grades of steel that we do.
Well, you got quite a bit into there, but what markets are Bisalloy supplying these types of steel to, and why do they put their trust in the Bisalloy brand?
Well, Bisalloy has been, again, it is the only company that manufactures such specialty steels in Australia, and it's been in operation for nearly 40 years. So it has a very good reputation in the marketplace and in the industry with the Australian customers. Traditionally, it was predominantly focused towards the mining and resource market. So in the days when there was, even up until fairly recently, I guess, there was the mining booms and a lot of mining expansions throughout Australia. Bisalloy was the go-to company to provide wear steels for the mining industry, and just became had an excellent reputation for quality and service in the marketplace. And then recently there's been a lot more activity using high-strength steels in the transport markets, which is still quite a healthy market in Australia. There's a very big trend globally towards building and infrastructure projects to use high-strength steel. Military, we've been servicing the military industry for over 30 years in Australia. We've been tested on numerous projects and numerous occasions We have accreditations with international defence forces, not only Australia, and it has Bisalloy armour grade steel has a very good reputation in that industry. And one of the main military vehicles in Australia was the Bushmaster, we're proud to say that nobody has ever lost their life in a Bushmaster vehicle using Bisalloy steel.
Since your appointment as MD and CEO, you've talked a lot about re-engaging with the marketplace. What does this mean?
Well, as I said there, is that Bisalloy has been operating in Australia for about 4 decades, has had a very good reputation, still has a very good reputation. During the mining booms, it was very, very busy servicing those markets. So there were markets that Bisalloy either couldn't service because they just couldn't supply to, or just didn't have the focus on, and they were markets such as energy. So energy now is becoming a new big focal point in Australia, and of course renewable energy. Oil and gas was another market, transport was another market, agriculture was another market. So there was these other markets that Bisalloy used to service, but were focused more on the mining market. So what we've done now that the resource market is probably never going to come back in the foreseeable future to the boom times that we experienced back in 2012 and before that. We've gone back into the marketplace and reinvigorated our brand, re-engaged with customers that either have used us in the past but for whatever reason are no longer using us or are using imported products, and really just re-engaging with the marketplace and re-educating them on what we've done as a company and with our products, and with more importantly, with our customer service and our technical support, that they can get here in Australia, that buying an imported steel you can't get. You just get an imported steel, and then the customer has to work with that, and if anything, if they need any help or support, it's on the other side of the world, and so we just want people to understand what they have by having such a company based here in Australia with all the support and all the technical people right here.
Well, Bisalloy is now building a recognisable name for itself internationally, including in Indonesia and Thailand. How has the organisation found itself in these particular countries?
I think that's been historical, and the reason for that is that the focus for Bisalloy up until this point, of course, has been focused on the Australian domestic market. Steel is a product that doesn't travel that well because Australia has what's called the tyranny of distance. So if we export out of Australia into some markets, then by the time it actually gets to the other market, the transport costs can kill the price competitiveness of it. However, looking at that, Asia is on our doorstep, and Australian companies work well in Asia. They're well respected in Asia, and of course, over the last decade or so, you've had quite a lot of manufacturing, especially for the resource sector, leaving Australia and setting up in Asia. And what will often happen is those products or those machines will get made in Asia and then come back into Australia. So we've sort of followed that trend up through Asia, and our operation in Indonesia, we've had that for over 25 years. It's a joint venture, and it's been very successful, and the brand has built up a very strong brand awareness in the Indonesian marketplace. And of course, the mining market in Indonesia is not that dissimilar to Australia. So it was a logical extension for us to be there. And it's similar for Thailand. Thailand does have manufacturing for that. There are Australian companies that are set up in Thailand to manufacture and to export back into Australia. So again, the same sort of pull for our products up into Southeast Asia. China was more of a long-term strategy on a number of fronts. We're what's called a standalone quench and tempering specialty steel company, and what that means is we are not attached to a major steel mill. Most of our competitors, and nearly all of our competitors globally, are attached to a very large steel mill. So we have pros and cons in having such a standalone operation. One of the pros is that we actually buy our steel from other companies, and then we transform its properties into either a wear grade, structural grade, or an armour grade. We, obviously in Australia, we try to use BlueScope as our default and as much as possible, and that's not always possible because BlueScope either may be busy or they may not be able to produce what we need in time or the specifications. So what we can do is we can look at sourcing material from overseas, bringing it into Australia, and then transforming it. So China was seen as a two strategy. One was from a feed point of view, was to develop a partner that could provide the quality that we expect in Australia to our specifications. So we had to do that through a partnership. And the other one was to spread the Bisalloy brand up into the very large China domestic market. And again, starting in the resource side of the business, because a lot of Australian companies and China in general tends to look at Australia as a very good source of quality for the resource and structural market.
Well, my final question for you today, Greg, is that it appears there's a lot of refocusing towards international opportunities. Is the business moving away from domestic activity?
No, I don't think that will never happen. And in fact, we have a new strategic focus right now, which is what we're calling is home market leadership. Bisalloy, going back through its history, has had a very high leadership position in the Australian domestic market, which is what it should have. If you look at our competitors around the world in their home domestic markets, the companies will support their domestic steel manufacturers. That is also the case here. People would like to buy Australian steel where they can, when we're competitive and we have the right products and we have the right service. So we believe that we should be the market leader in the domestic market. So we're not going away from that. However, there are quite a lot of interest in our products internationally, especially defence grade. So there's a lot of interest, and we supply to international defence forces our products through people hearing about our products or testing it and using our products. And we have the same on the resource side globally. And only just recently we set up a new operation in Dubai to service the United Arab Emirates, Middle East, and North Africa. So these are coming to us more by market forces wanting our product rather than us going out there and developing globally. So that's what's happening.
Well, that's all I have for you today, Greg. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today.
No, thank you very much. I hope it's been a little bit informative.
This has been a production of BoardroomBroadcasts.com, a division of Romulus Rising Proprietary Limited. All rights reserved. You can stay up to date with all our content by visiting www.boardroombroadcasts.com and clicking on subscribe.